You are carrying a $1,299 phone, and the parts inside it cost $408 to manufacture. Torn down, itemized, priced out by industry analysts whose reports the brand hopes stay behind a paywall. They assembled the hardware, wrote the story, raised the price every September, and counted on you never doing the math. Today, we are going through 5 smartphone brands charging you for a mythology instead of a machine, and 5 that actually put the money where the phone is. Some of what you're about to hear is going to make you angry. It should. Let's start with the ones that should embarrass themselves. Number 5. Apple. Let's open with the most controversial one on the list and get it out of the way. The iPhone 17 Pro Max costs $408 in raw components. It sells for $1,299. That is an $891 gap on a single device. And before the comments explode, no, that gap is not pure profit. Apple funds research, software, retail, support infrastructure, and an army of engineers across 3 continents. That is real, and it matters. But here is what Apple does with the credibility those engineers built. They use it to charge you $100 to go from 256 to 512 gigabytes of storage. The component cost difference at current NAND flash market rates? A fraction of that. Apple solders the storage to the board. You cannot upgrade it later, no card slot, no second chance. Pick wrong at checkout and that mistake lives with you for 4 years. Conveniently, iCloud starts at 99 cents per month. Apple spent a decade removing the headphone jack, the charger cable, and the box contents. Every removal came with a press release about courage, simplicity, or the environment. The accessories store that replaced them generated billions. Then there is Batterygate. In 2020, Apple settled a class action lawsuit for up to $500 million after being accused of deliberately slowing down older iPhones through software updates without telling anyone. The timing coincided with new iPhone launch cycles. Apple denied wrongdoing, paid the settlement, launched the next iPhone on schedule. The price went up. Apple is number 5 and not number 1 because you genuinely get a world-class device for that $408 in components. The A19 chip is the fastest mobile processor on the market. The camera is exceptional. The build is extraordinary. Apple charges too much for what they sell. The 4 brands above this are charging just as much for something that costs them less to build and delivers less when you open the box. Drop your iPhone model in the comments. Let's see how many of you are still on a 3-year-old phone because the upgrade never made sense at that price. Number 4. Huawei. Huawei's con is more interesting than greed. Huawei is selling you a reputation that the product inside the box no longer owns. Until 2019, Huawei made some of the 3 best smartphones on Earth. The P30 Pro rewrote what people thought a phone camera could do. The Mate series genuinely competed with Samsung and Apple, and sometimes beat both. The engineering was exceptional, the value was real, and then the United States placed Huawei on the Entity List, cutting off their access to Google services and the advanced chip supply chain that powered everything. What Huawei sells today in any market outside mainland China runs without the Google Play Store, without Google Maps, without YouTube, without Gmail, without the apps you have used every day for the past decade. Huawei will tell you HarmonyOS Next has over 15,000 native apps. What they will not tell you at the point of sale is that the specific apps you actually use, your bank, your streaming service, your ride-sharing app, are almost certainly not among them. Most buyers find this out after opening the box. The Kirin 9020 chip inside the Mate 70, which sells for up to $1,650 in the RS Ultimate Edition, benchmarks below chips that were released in 2022. You are paying 2025 flagship prices for 2022 chip performance on a phone that cannot run Western apps, on an operating system that has been available for less than 2 years. The camera hardware is still impressive on paper. The rest of the product is built on a reputation that belongs to a phone from 6 years ago. Huawei is counting on that name to carry the weight of everything that has changed. And for too many buyers, it does. Number 3. Oppo. Here is something Oppo does not mention anywhere in their marketing. Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, and Realme are all owned by the exact same company. BBK Electronics, a conglomerate based in Dongguan, China, built 4 separate brands with 4 completely different identities, targeting 4 different audiences, all running off the same factories, the same supply chain, and largely the same components. Oppo is the fashion-forward one, the aspirational one. The Find X series positioned as a direct rival to the Galaxy S and the iPhone Pro. Photographed in dramatic lighting with taglines about reimagining the future. The Super VOOS fast charging is legitimately one of the fastest in the world. 80 watts, fully charged in 32 minutes. That is a real differentiator and genuinely impressive engineering. And Oppo uses that one real advantage to justify charging you for everything around it that does not hold up. The Find X8 at $900 runs benchmark scores that competing phones hit at $600. ColorOS, Oppo's Android layer, ships pre-installed apps that resist removal, background processes that quietly delay your notifications, and a software update commitment that expires well before the hardware does. When Consumer Reports and tech forums run sustained performance tests, Oppo mid-range devices throttle, underload faster than equivalently priced competitors. One charging cable does not make a flagship. The cable is real. The flagship is a press release, and yes, if you own a Realme, a Vivo, or a OnePlus, you just found out you bought a different color of the same phone. Let that sink in. Tell us in the comments if you knew. Number 2. Vivo. Vivo has perfected a crime that happens before you ever turn the phone on. It happens in the spec sheet, and it is so brazen it almost deserves respect. The cameras are advertised with megapixel counts that would make a photography student raise an eyebrow. 50 megapixels. 100 megapixels, printed large on the box, in the commercials, on the shelf display. What those numbers measure is sensor resolution. The raw pixel count the sensor captures. What they do not measure is lens quality, computational processing, low light performance, color accuracy, dynamic range, or any of the other variables that determine whether the photo you took looks good or looks like it was taken through a shower door. Independent testing across DxOMark, GSM Arena, and independent YouTube reviewers consistently places Vivo camera output below competing phones at identical price points in real-world conditions. The megapixels win the spec sheet. The photo loses every comparison. Vivo wins the transaction at the shelf before the buyer ever opens the camera app. FunTouch OS ships with pre-installed applications you cannot remove, an advertising layer embedded in the notification system, and software update support that ends after 2 major Android versions on most mid-range devices. That means a $400 Vivo from today is a security risk by 2027, receiving no patches, no fixes, and no support, while you are still paying it off on a financing plan. The phone is engineered to feel premium for 6 months and feel obsolete by 18. That timeline is not an accident. It is a business model with a very specific customer life cycle in mind. Number 1. Samsung. Samsung is the most sophisticated operation on this list because they have pulled off something no other brand manages, using a genuinely world-class product to sell you a completely different phone at the same brand price. Start with the truth. The Galaxy S25 Ultra is extraordinary. Counterpoint Research estimated its bill of materials at approximately $484. Whoa. The most expensive Android phone to manufacture in its class, largely because the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip alone costs Samsung around $167 per unit. You pay $1,299. The display is the finest panel technology in any consumer smartphone. The camera system is exceptional. The titanium build is exceptional. Samsung's top-tier engineering justifies every dollar on the S25 Ultra. Now walk 2 shelves down in the same Best Buy, same Galaxy branding, same One UI interface, same marketing language. The Galaxy A16 at $200, the A35 at $300, the A55 at $450. Independent benchmark testing consistently shows these devices underperforming Motorola and Xiaomi phones at the same price on processor speed, sustained load performance, and camera output. You are paying for a Galaxy and receiving a phone that a brand without that name would struggle to sell at that price. The badge is doing work the hardware cannot. The software makes it worse. Samsung's Galaxy Store has been documented across XDA developers forums silently installing apps without user permission. The S25 Ultra ships with a duplicate app for every single Google service. Samsung Browser next to Chrome, Samsung Pay next to Google Pay, Samsung Health next to Google Fit, Bixby next to Google Assistant. most of which require technical workarounds to fully remove. 1XD, a member, documented disabling over 230 pre-installed applications on his S25 Ultra before he felt the phone was clean. 230 apps he never asked for, never wanted, and could not simply delete. Samsung Galaxy AI features are moving toward a subscription model on hardware you have already purchased outright. The infrastructure is already in place. An announcement is a matter of timing. The company that builds the finest display in the smartphone industry uses it to distract you from a mid-range lineup that charges premium prices for components that do not justify them, and a software strategy that treats your phone like a billboard. That is not a technology company. That is a marketing operation with an extraordinary display division attached. Now, here is what the money looks like when the product is actually the point. Number 5. Realme. Remember BBK Electronics, the same parent company behind Oppo and Vivo? Realme is their fourth brand, and it is the one they built with a completely different instruction. Sell the hardware at what it actually costs to make it well. No celebrity campaign, no aspirational identity, no fashion angle. The Realme GT series puts the same chipsets and charging speeds Oppo charges 40% more to access into a device priced for someone who did the math. The build quality is not flashy. The software is not exceptional. And for $250, you are getting performance that would cost $400 under a different logo from the same factory, if the BBK supply chain is going to exist. And it clearly is. You might as well buy the version of it that is not also funding a marketing department, telling you the phone is a lifestyle statement. Number 4. Nokia. Nokia today is HMD Global, a Finnish company licensing the Nokia name. And they made a decision that almost no smartphone manufacturer at any price has been willing to make. Ship the phone with nothing on it that does not need to be there. No skin, no pre-installed apps beyond what Google provides. No duplicate browser, no alternative payment system, no app that installs itself in the background at 2 a.m. Just Android, updated consistently, running on hardware priced without a mythology tax. Nokia phones feel faster than their specs suggest because there is nothing running in the background that you did not put there. The cameras are mid-tier. The design is not going to win awards. At $150 to $300, Nokia is not the most exciting phone on this list. It is the most honest one, and honestly, after everything we just went through, that is worth something. Number 3. Motorola. In 2014, Google sold Motorola to Lenovo for $2.91 billion. A $9 billion loss on a 3-year investment. It is the best thing that ever happened to Motorola's product line. Stripped of Google's ambitions and freed from pressure to compete at the top of the market, Motorola built something no one expected, the most consistently recommended budget phone in America. The Moto G Power Series appears in virtually every honest buying guide from every reviewer with no financial stake in the recommendation. Under $200. Near stock Android. Genuinely useful gesture controls. Chop twice for the flashlight, twist twice for the camera, added without redesigning everything you already know how to use. A 5,000 milliamp hour battery that lasts 2 full days and embarrasses flagships costing 4 times as much. Motorola does not have a camera co-engineered with a European lens house. They do not have a titanium frame or a ceramic back or a story about reinventing glass. They have a phone that works, lasts, and does not ask you to think about it. In this industry, that is genuinely rarer than any of the things the other brands are charging you for. Number 2. Xiaomi. In 2018, Xiaomi's founder Lei Jun made a public commitment that no major phone CEO had made before and none has made since. Xiaomi would never earn more than 5% net margin on hardware. The company would make money on software and services. The hardware would be priced at what it actually costs to build it well. Industry analysts noted at the time that Apple's gross margin on the iPhone X was estimated at 64%. 5% versus 64%. Let that number sit for a second. Xiaomi has since moved up market and flagship margins have shifted. But the philosophy produced something the industry did not anticipate. A company that had to make genuinely excellent hardware because it could not hide behind a brand premium, the Xiaomi 15 Plus. Series runs Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Elite, with a camera system co-developed with Leica, fast charging that reaches 90 watts, and a display that trades punches with Samsung's own panels, at a price where Samsung would still be selling you the A series. DxOMark ranked Xiaomi flagships consistently in the global top 5 for camera performance. Not top 5 for the price. Top 5 against every phone from every brand at any price point. When you cannot charge for the logo, the product has to earn the sale. Xiaomi figured that out early. The phones are the proof. Still think you need to spend $1,299 for a great camera? Let us know in the comments. Number 1. Google Pixel. There is a question that should have been asked years ago. If Google writes the operating system that runs on every Android phone in existence, why would you buy a phone from anyone else? Every other Android manufacturer takes Google's code and modifies it. Samsung adds One UI. Xiaomi adds HyperOS. Motorola adds MyUX. Each layer adds features and each layer adds background processes, latency, and engineering decisions made by the manufacturer rather than the team that wrote the underlying code. The Pixel runs Android the way Android was written to run. No translation layer, no manufacturer skin, no carrier partnership apps preloaded at the factory, just the operating system talking directly to hardware that was built for it. The results are difficult to argue with. DxOMark ranked the Pixel 9 first in the premium smartphone camera category, beating devices priced $200 higher. The Pixel 9a at $499 delivered in independent testing the same exposure accuracy, dynamic range, and color reproduction as the more expensive Pixel 9, earning DxOMark's Smart Choice label for outperforming phones in higher price tiers. The battery on the Pixel 9 Pro lasts longer in real-world use than the iPhone 17 Pro, despite a smaller capacity because the software managing it was written by the same people, who designed the battery management API that everyone else uses. Google guarantees 7 years of operating system updates and security patches on current Pixel devices. Apple, 5 to 6. Samsung, 4. Motorola, 2 to 3. A Pixel 9. A bought today at $499 will receive security updates until 2032. Every other phone on this list will be an unsupported device, unpatched, exposed, running software its own manufacturer no longer maintains, before the Pixel needs to be replaced. At $499 for a phone that ranked 13th globally in camera performance across every device at every price point, the math is not complicated. You're buying the phone made by the people who wrote the rules everyone else plays by. And they priced it like they had nothing to hide, because they do not. The 5 brands on the left side of this video are not going to change their storage pricing, their update policies, or their software practices because of anything said here. The margin between what a phone costs to build and what they charge you to own it is too comfortable to give up voluntarily. The retail environment rewards the story over the spec sheet, and the gap between what these devices cost to manufacture and what they sell for is wide enough that the business model runs itself without anyone having to change a thing. What changes is whether you walk into Best Buy knowing what you are actually paying for. A $1,299 phone with $408 of components is not automatically a bad phone. But the $500 between the bill of materials and what you hand over at the register, that gap is where the brand story lives. And now you know exactly what that story is worth. Drop the phone you are reconsidering in the comments. And if you think we were wrong about any of these, especially Apple, we know, make your case. We will read it.